Word on the streets, it's Bowls and Beats. What's good, B&B fam? And welcome back to another episode with your girl, X. Today's going to be a juicy episode because we're discussing all things conspiracy theories with someone who's been helping us all exit the Matrix slowly. Let's welcome Exit the Matrix.
Hello.
What's
Hello.
up? How are you?
Not too bad at all. Not too bad at all.
Good, good. How was the traffic?
Pretty bad. It's been raining like crazy past few
Yeah,
hours.
it's a rainy day, but that sets the mood for today's topic. Today we're going to be talking about conspiracy theories with none other than the guy himself, of course. So I want to start with asking you, what is a conspiracy theory exactly, and where did it even derive from? Because that term didn't exist a couple of centuries ago.
No, it's actually well, obviously after the pandemic, everything became a conspiracy theory. I think anything that countered government narratives became a conspiracy theory, and I think it was the Warren Report. I think in the '60s, if I'm correct. So I think after the JFK assassination happened,
Yes,
I think
sir.
they released that term to deflect anything that was surrounding his death.
This
And
is
then
true, you
obviously
guys.
till to this day, it's still going on, of course. But we know what happens with anybody who starts speaking truth. So
Yeah.
um,
This is true. You guys can Google it yourself.
yeah,
It
yeah,
really
for
did
sure.
begin after he got shot, JFK
yeah,
got shot.
exactly,
Because
exactly.
people were starting to wonder, did the government set this up? And they brought up the word
Yeah,
conspiracy.
yeah, no, for sure.
That's how it went down. So if you're into conspiracies, we're going to talk about them today. All right. So first question I have for you, which is something I think everybody wonders, is can you be rich and famous in an ethical way? Because we all know about, Illuminati, things that go on behind closed doors. So is it possible to get to that certain level of fame and even rich without,
Ye-
you know?
Honestly, I think maybe 10, 15 years ago, it would be a different conversation. But I think in today's era, especially with social media and everything else that's kind of going on, I think there's definitely lots of ways to get rich and famous. But I think it's just, I guess you got to just learn to navigate and learn what it is that you bring to the table. And I think you can't just be like, for example, if you're trying to be a musician, I don't think you could just be focusing on music only as a craft. Think about it like this. Think about how many people go viral off of, you know, the smallest things. It could be just making impersonations or making food or doing something like that, right? And then they work with specific set of companies. And the thing is, these days, you're not just dealing with corporations. You have a lot of smaller outlets, small startups. And if your brand is up there, there's a lot of people who haven't sold their souls or have like at least 1 million followers. You're still reaching out to a lot of people. So the thing is that at that point, you just got to realize that maybe it's best to not go with the top level, you know what I mean? And go to these record labels or these companies and maybe just work with the community that's being built from the ground up. And I know many people, like even close to myself, and who are thriving right now just from the community around them. And I think instead of just shooting for the stars straight away, I think you just gotta build that foundation with people around you. And I think social media is great for that, for sure.
So in other words, you got to work hard.
Yeah,
It's
a
not
lot.
going to happen
Yeah,
easily. And if
and-
it does, that's a little sus.
Exactly. And the thing is that you gotta, I think developing your skills in more than one way is crucial. So I think communication skills is huge. Networking is huge. And then obviously just not being fixated in your own ways and being able to attract new skills for yourself. Because the thing is, in today's era, there's so much competition. It's like you got to stand out,
It's true.
right?
Now, you mentioned selling your soul. That's a conspiracy theory everybody knows about, everybody talks about. So for the people who are kind of like new to this or haven't really looked too deep into it, what exactly do you mean when you say selling your soul? Like, is it a contract? Is it a person you're meeting? Like, who are you selling this to?
The thing is at the end of the day, the corporations and these record labels and whether it's Hollywood, at the end of the day, they're operating at a very high tier. And to be able to make that sort of money, you have to go through a hierarchy of levels before you get to a certain point, right? And we could talk about many artists. Obviously, we could talk about the music industry right now. You see so many artists that started off from a very pure way, and then eventually everybody's on the satanic route, right? Whether it's Lil Nas, Sam Smith, Playboy Cardi, you have
Literally everybody. If
Literally.
you just think about
these
it,
days everybody.
literally everybody.
Everybody, right? Every show you go to, I grew up listening to The Weeknd, and even for me, The Weeknd right now, it's like you see some of his shows, and it's like it looks like a full on ritual. You know what I mean? And it's like,
You're not wrong.
you know what I mean? And it's
Even just album covers. Like
exactly.
some people don't make it so obvious through the
Yeah,
music,
yeah.
but if you look at their album covers, you're like, what the fuck? Why are you a
Yeah.
devil on your album? Why is there like a little demon goat?
Exactly, exactly. And I think that's where we're at right now, where it's just like if selling your soul clearly means going against all your values. Well, another thing is, if you're really embedded with your values, you're probably not going to want to sell your soul.
Right.
So I think people who are actually looking for fame, money, status, maybe it's a no-brainer for them.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, because it doesn't really affect
That's
who they
true.
are on a conscious level, right?
And a lot of those times, those people that you're talking about, they are doing well. They're
Mhm.
just not doing overly well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're like sustaining that life. Like there's many actors and actresses out there who do it in an ethical way.
Exactly.
You know, commercials, TV shows, and then there's those ridiculously famous people that you're like,
Oh,
how
yeah.
do you even have that much power and money? And
Too
why is that
much.
okay?
And then you see the Met Gala runways, and
Oh,
you see what
God.
these guys are wearing, and
Yeah.
all this stuff. It's like, what are you guys really doing? You know what I mean? And the thing is that I think there's this trend as of late where it's just like the most ridiculous you could look, that's the way to go. And the thing is that even if you look at like the younger generations now compared to when I was in high school, yeah, we wore baggy clothes and stuff like that, but now it's just we're hitting like new tiers of just, I guess, just let's look as weird as possible.
Yeah, it's becoming a bit more normalized.
Yeah, exactly.
This whole
exactly.
like satanic
Yeah,
thing going on.
all of the above.
Yeah. Now, before we get into the next topic,
Uh-huh.
I do want to ask you: aren't you scared, like, of people coming after you? Because you expose like big people. If you guys haven't checked out his page, go check his page out. Yeah, he gets like deep and he exposes some big people. Don't you get scared?
Honestly, for me, no, because the thing is, like, there's certain things that obviously I've done in my life to make sure I scale how much attention I get onto, and I don't do podcasts all the time. I don't show my face all the time, and like once
Honored.
again, and no worries. And then you know what it is? It's like it's kind of one of those things where I also have strong faith, and I feel like if I'm doing something or I'm saying something, like there's a reason for me wanting to do it. And it doesn't have anything to do with money, fame, or anything, or me being the guy who's like, okay. And if you guys go to my page, obviously, it's me sharing a bunch of content from different pages who are also speaking out. It's not just about me, right? And I think the perspective of my page is like, I don't want to be known as the guy. I rather you be aware of how many people are willing to provide that information, and that there's not just one of us, right? And I think that for me is my, I don't want to say selling point, but that's kind of where it is. It has to be a community-based effort.
Yeah.
It can't just be like, okay, I'm, the guy, because there's a lot of people who speak on it. And even though I started speaking out in 2020, there was many people who came before me. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
then
that's true.
now it's in the mainstream, which is amazing. And what else would I want? You know what I mean?
100%.
So, but in terms of being scared, not really. I think now, especially after the last 3-4 years, it has gone very mainstream. Regardless of who's been speaking out, whether it's people fully agree with or not. I think the main thing here is the fact that people are talking about it.
Right.
And for example, I'll give you a prime example, like Andrew Tate. Not everybody agrees with everything he's saying, which is fine. He doesn't have to be a saint. But the thing is that if he's even giving 60% of value and people are listening to it, that's good. Because there's that many eyes on that topic now, right. And I look at it as
I feel like
that.
Candace Owen kind of gets the same vibe. She's like the female version.
Yeah, and I love Candace too. You know what I mean? And
At first I was kind of like, what is she talking about?
Yeah.
But if you really listen to her, you're like, oh, I
Yeah.
know what she's talking about.
And that's kind of like where I'm at with that. It's like people are like looking for the next profit, and it's like, man, nobody's gonna come perfect.
That's
So
true.
the thing is that if somebody's giving you some value, take it and then show your own discernment towards it. You know what I mean? I'm not always right either, so it's just like, take it or leave it.
Honestly, I salute you for speaking out and putting in that work.
Yeah, no worries.
Because
Thank
that's
you.
what we need. Like,
Yeah.
even the situation, let's start talking about celebrities, like P. Diddy. This whole situation
Mm-hmm.
with what he's been doing for years and how all of Hollywood knew about it, but nobody spoke up. And all it took was one person, Cassie, shout out
Mm-hmm.
you, to speak up, and now it's like a domino effect. Oh, yeah, I knew this was going on. He also
Yep.
did this. He also did this. He also did this. So let's also discuss, like, the cons of being famous.
Yeah, because the thing is that once you write it up and you're like, okay, I'm gonna be working for you guys, whoever it is, right? Corporations, record labels, and then you do X, Y, and Z, they'll hold something accountable to you. That could be pedophilia, that could be some sort of stuff behind the scenes, that could be, maybe a gay scene, maybe if you're gay or not gay, once again, nothing against anybody who is, but they'll hold something accountable to maybe tarnish your brand image, right? And the thing is that if it means something that much to you, you'll go along with it for as long as you can. And for me, with this whole P. Diddy thing, doesn't seem like many people got his back right now.
And you know what's sad? I don't think they don't have his back because I think it's wrong. I think they just don't want to side with anyone. They don't want to get involved.
Exactly.
It's like, do you really care then?
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, I think that's the thing about being rich or famous. It's like, if people who are seeking for that and looking for that, I mean, to each their own, right? But for me, it's like, as big of a page as it is, I still like being very low profile and not telling people entirely what I'm doing, right? Because like my genuine connections are coming from the ground up; they're not coming from the stars.
Honestly,
you know
honestly,
I mean?
like
So,
us, we've already known each other besides the podcast. Like we already created that friendship, and we're like on the same page here, and that is important. A lot of people don't understand. Like beyond a platform is the connections you meet in real life.
Exactly.
Like community, right?
Exactly.
So how do you even think that these celebrities get away with this? Because P. Diddy's not the only person. He's not going to be the last, probably. Like it's been going on in every industry. So how is this even allowed? How is this happening? Even with the whole island situation, how is this legal if it's illegal to regular people?
Well, the thing is, that's the thing, right? It's like at the end of the day, record labels, Hollywood, all this stuff, right? That's just an aspect of it. I think once again, like I talk about this on my page quite a bit. I think the system as a whole is just corrupt from start to finish, right? And maybe years back, there was some purity to the system, but I think whether it's your police, your governments, the voting system, the law in general, I think everybody can be bought out as long as you have enough power to have those connections. And I think a lot of people, if they have too many names under their belt, too many people that that are kind of vulnerable to a situation, I think there's higher up powers that could always kind of help you out and get out of specific situations. Like obviously I know you were probably referring to the Epstein situation as well. It's like, how are those people all still walking around, right? Well, think about how much evidence there was, how much there is to look into, and then we're still not doing it, right? So
I'm confused. What even happened to that list? I swear they were saying it's gonna drop. It's gonna drop.
No.
It's been like 2 years. Where is it?
And that's the thing, right? It's like I feel like even with the headlines and all the stuff that kind of comes out, it's a lot of it is just to kind of keep people distracted as well. As factual as some of these things are, I think bringing them back, like for example, like the stuff that's even happening in the Middle East right now, stuff will be happening, and then all of a sudden they'll drop, okay, Trump's going to jail. And then all of a sudden everybody's focus goes straight to that, right? But the thing is that once you see something getting too close to something, it's to bring in something else to create a divide. And the thing is that for a very long time it has worked, especially before the internet era. But I think now that internet is available, especially these last 5 years, I think information is it's at everybody's hands. And that's why TikTok was, is potentially getting banned in the USA, right? Because too many things are being brought up that shouldn't be brought up, and we have the power to bring it up.
That's very true.
You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of where everything's at right now, where it's just like this is the awakening era, and I truly believe it's just going to get better in our favor in a sense. But like, think about it right now, like 2009, 2008, nobody knew what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
Majority of people.
Lost era.
If you
even think about media, TV shows, what was going on, like garbage.
You couldn't even understand why certain things were in a movie at that time, and now it's like if you see movies like I think Civil War or all these propaganda movies, you instantly see them, and you know exactly what they're trying to do. Predictively programming you into thinking, okay, well, this is going to come up next. This is going to come up next. But before that internet era, it was just like everything was new to us, right?
So do you think someone created media and television to kind of control people?
Oh, for sure.
In a negative way.
Yeah. I think back in, and a lot of this stuff once again happened after World War II, where a lot of things like mind control and experiments on people, and realizing, okay, well, the CIA, for example, working with Disney and all this
Yeah.
stuff to incorporate some subliminal messages within TV shows, right?
Hold on.
Yeah.
I know this might be a shock to some people. That you even just saying that was kind of like, damn. So, like,
Yeah.
people who are new to this, what do you mean by CIA working with Disney?
So CIA working with, so we call it programming, obviously, right? It's television programming, and that's exactly what it was made out to be. Because
Sorry, Disney fans, hang on tight.
yeah. Because
Hang on tight.
the thing is, at the end of the day, it's like it's stuff that you consume. It's stuff that it embeds in your head, and it's like if you're not reading books, what else? How are people consuming information? It's probably newspapers back in the day, or it's television, right? So for a very long time, cigarettes were good for you. You know, microwaves were good for you. All this stuff was being programmed into people. At one point, doctors were validating it and saying it's completely fine. But then you also look at, for example, Disney, and certain movies had signs of pedophilia in it, right? And all these subliminal messages with satanic stuff and all this stuff. But as children, we never noticed it. But that is a form of programming, right? And as we get further and further into it, now you look at kid shows today, a lot of stuff is being pushed that your kids shouldn't necessarily be watching. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like you're embedding it into their subconscious, right? So
Yeah, that's a really great point.
yeah,
But besides negativity, you can also, like you said, use it
Exactly.
for positivity.
exactly.
So there's obviously a lot of like negative and toxic arguments going around about alpha male and what it means to
Mhm.
be an alpha male. So what do you think it means to be an alpha male?
I think the term alpha male, it's been used in many different directions, and I think if you look at back in like the 80s or the 90s, right, the way that an alpha male was portrayed was somebody obviously lifting weights, you got a cigar in your mouth, you're shooting all sorts of guns, nice big macho man, tough, no bullshit, cussing off everybody. Like that's what it was, right, for a very long time. And then I think in today's era, the definition of a male is being scorched, where it's like, okay, you need to feel more, you need to be more on your feminine side, you need to be this, but it's also almost emasculating what it is to be a male. So I think where it's happening right now is that there's also this sense of confusion of what it is to be a actual divine masculine person, right? And I think ultimately the foundation of it is still to be able to protect, provide, lead, and have your own sense of direction. And I think that's the thing that
Protect, provide, and
Yeah,
lead.
yeah.
Those are three
Yeah,
great points, actually.
yeah.
He's not wrong.
but do it in a healthy way. And
Right.
I think that's where I think a lot of people, when we think about every whether you're male or female, you have testosterone and you have estrogen. So the thing is that you obviously still predominantly want to be in your testosterone, right? But the thing is that we have estrogen, which basically means we still can be in that nurturing energy, we still could be in that listening energy,
Right.
be in that empathetic energy.
Right.
But then also you can't just sacrifice everything that it is to be a man and just strictly be on that side. You need to have your boundaries, your discipline to lead, provide. And at the end of the day, like if you're eventually going to be a father, be a family man, you know, you have kids, like you cannot just be operating in your feminine. There's absolutely no way. You know what I mean? And I think that's where right now there's a lot of confusion where people are really hyper driving towards that. And if it's not that, then you're toxic masculinity, which is
Right.
the stuff that was going on in the
Right.
80s. But I think it's to figure out that there's actually, you need a bit of both. But I think 70% should still be geared towards being able to protect, provide, and lead, and, you know,
For
create
sure.
that safe space. And at the end of the day, make a safe space for the women in this world as well, right? So,
I definitely think we need more positivity when it comes to masculinity
Yeah.
nowadays.
yeah.
For sure. Even in the music industry, I mean, that can be a tough one
Mm-hmm.
to find someone who's has positive masculinity in the industry, especially when it comes to studios. We hear like horror stories. So like, what advice can you give to people who are trying to like get into the industry that are feeling kind of uncomfortable? Because there's a lot of toxic masculinity in the
Oh,
industry.
for sure. And I think, and once again, like honestly, in situations like that, like everybody has a different past. Everybody, you know, you get finessed into a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
striving for a certain thing. And I think in situations like that, I think it's just always key to have some sort of support system with
Yes.
something that gives you like, because the thing is, man, like I could picture let's just say, you know, a girl's trying to move it up in the industry, and you have no strong male presence within your life, right? And your girls are telling you to go for it and everything, and then you get into these situations, and then you have to go up these tiers of males, and you know the kind of shit that kind of happens in those situations. So I think in those situations, I think it's a tricky situation, because at the end of the day, like, if you have no guidance towards any of that, or an understanding, or even like, I want to say a good spine towards like understanding your own core values, you can get used.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Big time.
And we see it happen all the time. Recently, I forgot her name, but she just came out about a story about P. Diddy and Kanye. So this is a famous girl too. So someone that's very well known. Imagine what goes on with girls who aren't known. But anyways, so this girl's really well known, and she went into their studio, and she went with a girlfriend, not a male friend. And they got them both drunk. Her friend ended up leaving. She didn't see her for the rest of the night. She didn't know what happened to her. But apparently, Diddy and Kanye were like pushing her against the wall and like, you know, trying to do things to her. She didn't want done. She was like saying stop. And there was 7 other guys in that room, and she looked at all of them, gave them eye contact, and not one guy stood up. They all kind of like looked away. And obviously, at that point, she didn't care about being famous. But when you have people like Kanye messaging you, hey, come into my studio, I'll make you rich, like, obviously it can be difficult. But like you said, if she had like a positive male role in her life that could have possibly accompanied her, I thought that would have happened.
For sure. And then that's
so we need more of that. We need to push that, definitely. Like you said, lead, provide, and protect. 100%.
And I think guys play a big role in that as well, right? Like, even for myself, it's like, if I have my guys doing some stupid shit, I'm there. You know, I'll say what I gotta say. I know my brother's the same way. Like, a majority of the guys that I keep within my tight circle, we have a specific way of kind of going about things. And I know, like, the females in our lives look at us as like, okay, we're safe with these guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it also, I think it's just like it's like an individual effort. And then also you got to see who you're keeping around. That's why a lot of times, like, money, fame, and all this stuff doesn't attract to me, even though, you know, things are good for me in my life right now. It's just like, I'm not gravitating towards that, because with it comes with a lot of BS.
Yeah.
Right? And I rather stay authentic with my relationships and attract that stuff authentically than to just be chasing shit. Because like, I could attract it.
100%.
You know
a lot of people don't think about the consequences that come with whatever you're sacrificing, right? And there is a lot of feminine toxicity as well.
Oh, of course.
Like,
of course.
Ladies, also check your girls. They might not like it in the moment, but if you're being a good friend, you're going to check them too, right? So what do you think makes a positive feminine woman? As a guy, because obviously it's hard for women to accept our flaws. Like, let's be real. I'm so quick to blame the guys. So what do you think women can work on to be more positive?
Honestly, I think in today's era, I think it goes hand in hand, right? I think if more guys were to create more safe spaces, more girls would be, you know, able to kind of reciprocate that energy as well. But I think at the end of the day, I think clarity and reassurance is something that we're really lacking. And I think it has to do directly with the amount of options that you have, and, you know, social media and Tinder and all this shit, you know what I mean? And I think at the end of the day, like, I'm, for the most part, for myself, I've always been like, if I know what I want and I'm serious about it, I want to attract that type of energy. And then I have to set those boundaries. Like, if I see that, you know, you're okay, like, for example, how you are with your family, how you are with your friends, what are your long-term goals? Are you just trying to fuck around, you know, like, all these things, right? Like, I will vet you on that and see where you're coming from, you know what I mean? And if I feel like there's a bit of chaotic energy or not too much clarity, or if you're like a little shady, I'll pick up on that, you know 100%. What I mean? And then I'm gonna reinforce my boundaries, and if I feel like you're not gonna meet me there, okay, you know what I mean? You just drop it.
For sure. And you know what? I think social media is kind of pushing that narrative a bit too much.
Yeah.
Because everyone I meet, for the most part, isn't a douchebag. Like, everyone thinks it's so bad out here, but it's really not. We're just feeding into what social media is telling us. It's not that bad. People are still pretty good human beings if you actually talk to them outside.
For sure.
So on the topic of going outside, let's talk about the jab. We're going to say the jab, obviously.
Yeah.
To not get restricted or anything like that. But what's your thoughts on that? Because we were all locked down for years. Jobs were lost, relationships were lost, friendships were lost. A lot of things were lost, and suddenly it's gone.
Oh yeah,
disappeared.
I know. I think it's a conversation a lot of people are too ashamed to have because of how they acted. And I know many people that are like that.
It's like, half of my family.
Because now it's like, oh, you still talking about that? Oh, yes, I am. Because
weren't you talking about it?
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing was, it was the elephant in the room for the longest time, and
it was bad.
It was really bad. It was
I
really
had
bad.
so many weddings during that time. I
Yeah.
couldn't go to half of them.
Oh yeah.
Like I almost.
I was the
I'm
same.
not even gonna get into the tea, but I almost didn't go to a wedding that was so important because of that.
Yeah.
And I was like, girl, I'm not gonna kill you.
I missed my cousin's wedding in the States, but like literally I had to figure up some paperwork for my mother because she was just like my whole family was trying to blackmail her into taking it.
Oh my gosh.
And then
Literally
I had to
same.
figure out some ways to, get her afloat. And I was like, okay, at least you can go. But I was just not. It was kind of one of those things. Like I'm actually very happy because a lot of people that were talking shit to me around that time, surprising, these were good guys. They all came back and actually apologized. But there were were a lot of people though. Now when I see them, they've all unfollowed me.
Oh no!
And I'll see them, and it's just like, oh, talking to me, all smiling, and I'll have a smile on my face, and it's like, and then they'll be like, oh, you don't message me. I'm like, on Instagram, you still follow me, and then I'll just call them out. I'm like, oh, why would I? All right, man.
Oh my god, people are way too sensitive. Like, not the unfollow.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you're still
yeah.
allowed to have your own opinion, even if it's wrong or you don't agree with it. You don't have to look at their fucking posts. Move along with your day.
In their defense, I was very angry.
No, but you have a reason to be angry because, like you said,
pissed off
friendships were broken, family cut ties. Like, it got serious. Like, people were really angry, and now no one's taking accountability. They don't want to have the conversation. No one wants to speak about it. And we have to, or this is going to keep happening. I mean.
Oh, for sure. And I think one of the things right now is the whole process of all this, especially these last 4 years. I think I'm just grateful that it happened the way that it happened because at the end of the day, there's been something that's bothered somebody. So everybody who's on board with the government's this, the government's that, well, now they're looking at them in a different light because majority of people, their financial situation screwed up. And they're looking at, okay, well, this doesn't make sense. How is this still going about things? So I do still have gratitude for everything kind of happening the way it did because now people are seeing it for what it really is.
Yes.
Although I still don't have any faith in the system personally.
Oh no.
No, that's just me. But then at the same time, I've made certain moves for myself to understand how to work around it, right? So, but for people, it's like, I think that's where it is. It's like you just got to tap back into your own authentic self and power. And
you know what? If one thing that era did, it's made people authentic to who they really are. Because there was a lot of isolation. You had to be alone.
Exactly. And even for myself, I was MIA for 3 years. Like my friends wouldn't see me as often. And that was my own deep healing, understanding myself, understand what it is that I need to bring to the people.
Right.
Bring to the table and like even realize like, okay, what's of value? What's actually of value, right? And authentic to me. And eventually, it started flourishing. But I think for people who ran away from the deep work, they're facing repercussions as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that one. Yes.
Yeah.
I see it now.
Yeah,
but like you said, even though some people won't take accountability or they're too ashamed to talk about the fact that they were wrong about that whole era, it's nice to see that now they've realized, oh, I can't trust the government. Oh, this is weird after all. So, and a lot of people are now going back to their natural healing ways, like using herbs and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like I'm a big advocate, obviously, for herbs, as you guys know, like eucalyptus, mullein, if that's how you pronounce it, mullein. But those are like great things that are good for your lungs that, again, we couldn't really see on shelves during that era. Coincidence? I think not. But I want to talk about that too. Obviously, you believe in more of a natural path of healing.
For sure.
So what can you say about, the pharma industry?
Well, big pharma in general, I've seen, like, for example, like my brother, I have ADHD. I never got diagnosed for it, but my brother, he got diagnosed for it. And I remember when they gave him Vyvanse, I think that's how you say it, Vyvanse, and it's literally like a methamphetamine. You feel like you're on, and I've taken it. I've
oh my
used
God,
it
my
as
friend
well.
loves it.
And that's the thing, but it makes you cold, and it's like, it makes you feel cracked out. And that's just one aspect of pharmaceuticals. But if you look at like vaccines, for example, or you look at how people get medicated, like since we're on this podcast, right? Like if you go the herb route and you actually do marijuana and you do CBD, the benefits of that minus all those crazy side effects, right? And I used to be like once again, like whether it's pharmaceuticals or whether it's herb or anything, like for me, personally, I needed to know what I operate well on, right? I smoked a lot in my life at the same time, but then there were points in me where I was like, okay, this is becoming a limitation specifically for me.
Oh, yeah.
But everybody's their own person, so I can't really say, how anybody should be operating or couldn't be operating on it. But for pharmaceuticals specifically, I'm like, I'm pretty like, if I could find the naturopathic way, that's the way to go for me. And I think especially in that era, I think a lot of people went that route, started speaking more about it. You have so many social media pages now with bringing awareness to like foods, and
I know. I
you
love
know,
it.
I love it.
Love to
I
see
love
it.
it because the thing is that I started following a lot of these things, and I started feeling a lot better, and I started feeling like
Right?
my energy levels going up, or the
Yes.
way that I'm like, um, just in general, like recovery time, or if I'm working out, or
Right.
um, but
Like a
I
lot of
think,
people will look at me and be like, "How do you live such a healthy lifestyle?
hmm
You look great, you feel great,
yeah,
and you still smoke weed." I'm like,
yeah,
"Cause that's not the only herb I
no, no,
use.
no, no,
Like,
no.
I'm on
It's
my eucalyptus. I live for that shit. Oh my god."
and that's the beauty of it, right? Is that social media is like, it's actually connected the world in all forms, right? Like you have, whether it's stuff from down south or East Asia or South
Right.
Asia or Europe, or everybody's like knowledge is being brought together, and there's this hybrid. Like not one thing is always going to work for everybody, but the thing is there's enough good knowledge out there for people to kind of take the good. You know
Hmm.
what I
And
mean?
it's
No matter.
also crazy to see that there's so many like
Yeah.
herbs and plants and fruit out there that can heal
Yes.
certain diseases, but here we can't find them. And if we
Exactly.
do, they're like $10
Exactly.
each.
And that's the pharmaceutical industry, right? Because as long as they keep you sick, they have a customer, right? And I think
That's
that's
crazy.
another thing that people fail to understand, is that
That's sad.
they're not giving you pharmaceuticals because they care about you, because they'll never ask you why it's happening. They're just going to tell you what's happening, and they're never going to tell you what you got to do to fix it. It's always like, okay, here's a pill,
That's
here's a
very true.
drug, here's this,
I want you guys to take that in.
Yeah, no,
Like
for
without
sure.
us being sick, there's no
Oh
industry.
no,
They don't get paid, right?
there's no industry at
So if they
all.
keep us sick, their pockets get full.
And then if you guys ever saw how much they were making out those vaccines, that number was no joke.
Ridiculous.
No
I was
joke.
convinced there was water in half of them at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
But at the end of it, I'm like, at this point,
The
there's nothing
incentives,
even happening.
the incentives even for like companies and bosses that were pushing it to their staff, and I got to see some of this stuff. So
And it was everywhere.
Yeah,
So weird. I'm like,
everywhere.
is this even sanitary?
you were getting like lap
Like-
dances if you for a vaccine in certain states. You were getting fried
Jesus
chicken buckets. You were getting French fries.
That's so messed
Yeah,
up.
and it's like, and people were buying it, and then
At that
they-
point, don't you think though this is wrong? They're bribing us.
exactly, they would even use like, they would go into hoods, and they would like legit use people
Assholes.
from the hood to promote the vaccine
course
and
they
make it
would.
seem like they're doing a community service, and the thing,
100%.
they would make it look so cool, and it's just, I don't know, the whole thing was just a psyop
Oh
and a half.
God, I know it's a joke now. It's a joke, but it's
Yeah.
not. Like it's funny, but it's not.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we just need people to really like still have these conversations because
Oh,
it's a
for
dying
sure.
conversation. Nobody wants to talk about it, but if it's a dying conversation, there's no solution, right?
Hmm.
So, do you think it's possible to create a better future? Or do you think we're too controlled at this point by the government, media, social,
No.
like celebrities, all
I
that
think
stuff?
I definitely think there's a big chance of a better future. I think all this stuff happening right now is like, it's part of it, right? I think
Right.
us not knowing anything 5-10 years ago to knowing so much and then making the moves accordingly. I think it just goes back to, I think, more community based and staying authentic to yourself. I think that's I think those are your two key factors to actually fight such a system.
Mm-hmm.
Because even for me right now, it's like, man, I'm not looking too much to the government or other people. I'm looking to the people around me who are also living an authentic path and using them.
It's very true.
Even if it's for my business or whatever, I'm going to my friends first, or I'm willing to support my friends first, or I'm looking at the things that I could offer and going according to that. But I think when you're in school, you're so accustomed to, and once again, nothing against anybody who has a degree or goes to university and goes the whole 9 yards with it, but ask yourself if you're actually doing something you want to do, or something society wants you to do, or something they're telling you is going to make you good money. Because
Or be a good person. You know how
Yeah.
there's like good cop, bad
Yeah,
cop?
yeah, yeah.
Like be a good doctor.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
actually care about people.
Exactly. Or just go into naturopath, like if you
Yeah.
really want to help people and you start off, figure out how you could heal people the natural way, start up your own business. Do there's a lot of people doing that right now, right? And it's, if that's your end goal, be the best version of that. Get creative with it, make reels, do skits,
Honestly.
and like help people. If you want to get rich off of it, do that, But I think it just goes, I think, back down to authenticity, and just community-based stuff, man. And
No,
I think,
honestly, like since I
yeah,
started Bowls and Beats, obviously I've created
yeah.
community, and I can tell you guys, it feels so good.
Oh, for sure.
It feels so freaking good. And like you said, I don't even
Yeah.
really think about what celebrities are doing now or what's
No,
going
no,
on in the
no.
news because I'm so focused with the people around me, and I'm like, life's good. People
There,
are good. Like,
and
I'm grateful.
honestly,
That's important too. Definitely be grateful.
for
Don't
sure,
be naive, right?
for sure. Always gratitude, right, with your journey, because everything that sometimes it's just redirections too, right? Like you need it. Sometimes it's like even like in this pandemic, a lot of people were going through the depression phases and everything, but the second it hit that, okay, I can't deal with this anymore, you probably redirected yourself into something where you can, do something for yourself and grow from it. And a lot of people were able to do that.
Exactly.
Um,
So a
but
better future is possible, y'all.
oh, for
We
sure,
just got to do it.
for sure.
The mass,
yeah,
right?
you just can't be looking at daddy government
No,
to be like, all right,
literally.
this is gonna help me. It's absolutely, I've never been like that, and for me, it's like, I think when this whole thing happened with the pandemic and everything, it was just more validation that, okay, I'm not looking at you guys for anything then. You know what I mean? So, but I think it's just
They almost kind of fucked themselves over.
yeah,
'Cause
for
it opened
sure.
a lot of people's eyes.
It did. It backfired big time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Exiting the matrix.
Yes.
And
I
before
agree.
we wrap it up, to the people who are listening to this and they're kind of like confused or they're not exactly believing what we're saying, they're still thinking it's a conspiracy. What advice can you give them?
I would start off with just asking yourself how anything in today's world makes you feel. And you could look at a satanic music video. You could
Yeah.
look at what the government is doing. You could look at what's being allowed overseas by your government. You could see who you can't speak out against and what happens if you do. And what happens when you speak out about something and when there's other things happening where you could clearly tell it's vile or explicit to the extent and you don't get penalized for it. Why is it that everything else have repercussions? And then you get to see what your governments are pushing and what they don't want to be pushed. So I think when you start asking those questions, and once again, not everybody wants to ask them because
They're uncomfortable.
uncomfortable
They're
with the
not
truth.
ready.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
they're not ready.
and it also tarnishes maybe your reality, right?
Your
Because-
childhood.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a pill you got to swallow, but if you're not willing to swallow it, your growth stops there.
Yeah.
So-
That's why they call it the rabbit hole.
Yep.
Oh, I remember that, you guys.
Yep,
I
yep.
remember I was literally like, I was like, no, this has to be a lie. Like, I was in denial for a while, but
Yeah, I don't know. For
No.
sure.
but it feels good once you do wake up.
Oh, for sure.
When you're able to see past
The
bullshit.
best thing that happened. Even it
Yeah.
took a few years of healing from it or
No,
understanding
literally.
Because I remember when I started the page, my first 2-3 years, man, I was really angry, and I was like, it was affecting my
Yes.
relationships, it was affecting my mental health,
Yes.
but eventually, when you get to that point of breaking out of it, it's the best thing that could
Yes.
happen.
And also be aware that a lot of the times they'll use topics that make you sensitive, that make you angry,
Yes.
to kind of create that, again, divide. 'Cause
Exactly.
I remember being angry too around like Black Lives Matter.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Of course.
everybody was so angry and like we were all fighting each other. So it feels good to see beyond that and realize at the end of the day it is like one
Yeah.
love, which is what I'm preaching on here with Bulls and Beats.
Exactly.
We have to remember at the end of the day it's all about like one love.
Exactly.
We're all human at the end of the day.
Yep.
So
Red
just
blood.
be aware of what you're consuming, what you're listening to, what you're watching.
Exactly. Even when you're following me, you don't gotta be on my page every day. You can mute the notifications, do what you can do. At the end of the day, I gotta just post what I gotta post because
Right.
not everybody's awake yet. So
And it's okay to take a break.
yeah,
Media
exactly.
can be a lot, especially when it's sensitive, traumatic things. Like,
Exactly.
it's totally okay to log off and just be like, oh, I need a break from this, and just isolate. That's really important.
For
too.
sure. Even myself, I gotta take breaks once in a while. I can't be posting all the
No,
time.
honestly,
takes
real
a
life is
toll.
important.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Real life, going outside, appreciating your real life, very important, y'all. So before we wrap it up, where can everybody find you on social media to keep up with your
So
content?
you could follow exit_the matrix 2020.
That's right.
Feel free
2020.
to follow. Feel free to check the highlights. That's where a lot of the old stuff is, and hopefully it helps.
Well, it helped me. I know that. I know it helped Jonah. He's been back there the whole time listening to the tea. For sure. Story
So-
time with Jonah.
So going back to the COVID situation, so I'm a DJ, right?
Right.
And
Nice.
I remember I did a wedding at a banquet hall over here by Jane and Seven. I forgot the name of it, or else I would have said it. And they wouldn't let me in to set up because I didn't have the vaccine, the what, like the pass or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I'm the DJ, and they're like, yeah, sorry, you can't come in without it. So I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. And I was calm about it. I didn't freak out. Went into my car, went around the banquet hall, brought everything in from the back, set up to the wedding. But that specific wedding was so messed up because there were people that were, I guess, for it. You know what I mean? And they were like away from people with the masks.
Right.
After the, I guess, the introductions, they left.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is crazy.
Weird
Yeah.
times, man.
Like
Very
it
weird
it
times.
caused so much tension between the bride and groom that not even 5-6 months after, gone. It was done.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
they spent all that all that money and everything, and yeah, it was done. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so sad.
Yep. Anyways, story time done.
Damn.
Yeah, no.
See, this is
definitely.
why you guys gotta wake up and have these conversations, because this is no joke.
No, for
It's
sure.
no joke
man.
out here.
There's a lot of separation around that time.
Yes, yes. So before we wrap up the episode, I just want to remind you guys, one love, one heart. That's why I love Bob Marley. Low-key, that's another conspiracy theory, but let's remember to listen to his music because, again, what you listen to, especially when it comes to music, is very, very important.
Oh, for sure.
So important. So spread that love, spread that positivity, comment, like, subscribe, all that good-ish. Word on the streets. It's Bowls and Beats. Later.
Peace. Thanks, guys.